This podcast is sponsored by nobody. Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today I will be welcoming a very inspirational person. Her name is Linda Marcus Smith. She is a very funny stand-up comedian from Las Vegas. She's in her 70s. She started doing stand-up much later in life. And I'm going to have her on today. She's got a podcast on YouTube, a Zoom show called The Comic Spot. And she's, oh my God, done hundreds of interviews since quarantine. And I was on her show a couple weeks ago. If you go on YouTube and take a look at it, it was a lot of fun. And we're going to talk, about comedy, about her beginnings in the Army, and her parents are Holocaust survivors, and all of that stuff. And it's going to be a very deep, inspirational interview today, I have to say. She's a very sweet lady, and I was so happy to be on her show a few weeks ago, and now she's returning the favor. So yeah, here is my interview with Linda Marcus Smith. Hey Linda, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Fine. Thank you, Tommy. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I am fabulous. This is such a great honor. Thank you so much for coming on today. I had so much fun when I was on your show a few weeks ago.
Wasn't that fun?
That was a blast. Absolutely.
Yeah. What's new?
Nothing. Same old shit, different day.
Same old shit.
Yes. So, going back in time, I found out you came from parents who were Holocaust survivors. That I can imagine came with a lot of baggage and trauma. Did they tell you, things that they experienced that, were just so out there?
Yes. My whole childhood was filled with their problems.
Yeah. That's a great way of putting it. Yeah.
Thank you. I watched all those black and white newsreels, and in all of them I was looking for my parents in there to prove they were telling the truth. The shit seemed too unreal to believe.
I know. It's just like, people who talk about Vietnam, it's just like, I guess everyone's experience is subjective, you think?
Yeah, exactly. I loved my parents so much, but that's why I started becoming funny, because all they ever wanted to do is be victims and think about the Holocaust, and there was so much more to life, and when I told jokes, they would forget about the Holocaust.
Oh. Yeah, so did you know early on you were funny?
I knew I was funny one day when they were arguing, and I was playing with a handful of marbles, glass marbles.
Mm-hmm.
And I was standing on a wood floor, and I put them on my head, and they fell on the ground, and my parents stopped arguing, and I said, "You're making me lose my marbles."
Were your parents funny at all?
My dad was hilarious all the time. I mean, I could start a podcast about the shit my dad did and said.
Yeah.
He was like Mr. Mayor of Portland, Oregon, and there wasn't anybody or anything that he didn't try. And I was like his wing woman when I was 5 years old. And oh yeah, I mean, my dad did everything. My mother was, we have to pay the bills and we have to do this and that kind of. She was very German, my way. Or my dad was like out there, balls to the wall, be whatever I want to be.
Yeah.
And they divorced, but I loved my dad so much because he was a loose cannon.
Yeah. How old were you when they divorced?
I was like in 7th grade, but I knew they were going to divorce every night of my life.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah. I was very secure in being insecure.
You're the only child?
No, I had I still have a twin brother. He's in Portland.
Oh.
And a sister who's 3 years older, who I thought was perfect. And then, like, when I'm 72, she admitted that she stole cookies from the high school snack bar she worked in.
Wow. Well, yeah, back then you could get away with that. Now they got cameras everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. What comedians did you watch on TV?
My very first experience of comedy was on a record listening to the Red Fox Red album.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And all the dirty, and then came Shelley Berman and all the great Jewish comedians, and then came the Kennedy records. But on TV, it was anybody who was on late night talk shows.
Mm-hmm.
I would listen to them, and that was kind of the only access you had. Or the Dean Martin show. Like Carol Burnett started having people on, and I'd be exposed to monologues and skits. But stand up, that was mostly, when they were on the late night and they did that spot.
Right. When you say the Kennedy records, you're talking about Von Meter.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, his name rarely ever comes up, and it needs to be brought up because he was like the first, probably the first like cancel culture comedian. In that he Kennedy was alive when he recorded that first album, and then when the second album was coming out and stuff, Kennedy had just gotten assassinated, and everyone was pissed that he was still doing Kennedy, and so he was done after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. That's crazy.
He had massive success for a year, and then people, were offended later, It was kind of like, how Andrew Dice Clay got huge.
Yeah. Yeah. Boy, Andrew Dice, nobody knows today how huge, the young people don't realize how huge Andrew Dice Clay used to be.
I know. Going to his show in those days, it was like going to a sporting event. I mean, you had all the alphas there, and everyone was just going crazy for him. It was, people would tailgate to go to his shows.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you grew up during that golden era of television with Steve Allen and Jack Parr and all of that.
Oh, yeah. I loved all those talk show hosts. They were so amazing. And, the different types of comedy that came out of just the hosts on TV.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I really, I would sit and just marvel. And then when Bob Hope videos came out, I mean, the Bob Hope specials, that's what I wanted to do, because my parents, when they were in the Holocaust and the war ended, the military is the one that got them out of the camps.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Bob Hope did the military shows, I thought, that's what I want to do someday. I want to entertain the troops.
Yeah. Yeah. So after school, did you go straight to the Army?
So I went to high school. Mm-hmm. I ended in 1969. Then I went to college, and I basically just majored in practical jokes to make people laugh. And then took me to 71, worked for 2 years at the Portland airport and at a bank in Oregon. And then my grandpa died, and I said, screw it, I'm out of here. And all you alpha women can just have Portland, and I went in the Army.
Wow. When you were there, did you see the USO shows or Bob Hope?
No, I did not see anything. And that, the whole 3 years I was in the military, not one military show of any kind came around. And I saw a real need for it. And I kept remembering Bob Hope entertaining the troops versus nothing. And so that's another reason why I want to go places where there are no shows for the military. Like I'll go to a VA hospital and tell jokes in the bed when they're in their beds dying. I don't care.
Yeah, like Robin Williams did.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's funny. I interviewed this Canadian actress, Joyce Meadows. She was in that 1957 creature features movie, The Brain from Planet Arouse, and
Wow.
she was in a music group, and they did a USO tour during the Vietnam era. She told me it was eye opening and amazing. I mean, she saw a part of humanity that she didn't know existed.
Wow. What all did she say about that?
That's pretty much the extent of what I remember. Because I did this interview last year. I'd have to go back and listen to the
Yeah.
rest of it. But it was like right at the end of the interview, and she told me, yeah, it was just pretty amazing. And I can't remember. I don't think she saw Bob Hope either.
Oh. Well, the USO tours are for people like her, who are already well-known celebrities. But the Armed Forces Entertainment takes yahoos like myself.
Mm-hmm.
The
Absolutely.
every So I got asked to be on 2 AFE tours, but one didn't happen, and I didn't see the voicemail of the other one until it was too late.
So were you in the WACS?
I was in 1973. I was in the Women's Army Corps,
Mm-hmm.
and I was a finance cashier, and I got permanent station of duty was Hanau, Germany, and that turned out to be the very city my dad's mother was born in.
Wow. So you spent some time in Germany then?
Yes, from December 73 till May of 76.
I've seen Germany in movies like Willy Wonka and Inside Out, and I can't get over just what a beautiful country it is, visually.
Very beautiful. So when you get to Germany, anybody who's listening, you do not want to go anywhere around Frankfurt. Oh, I was so stupid. Like all the beauty is up north
Yeah.
by the seas and Cologne, or down south near the Alps. But not me. Oh no, I had to say anywhere around Frankfurt. That's like asking for Nebraska.
It's like the Oakland of Germany.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I'm a Bay Area guy, and my whole life, people were like, stay away from Oakland. It's a bad place.
Yes. Even all their sports teams don't want to be there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Their mayor is like not doing them any good either.
Yeah. So I guess it's safe to say you're the real Private Benjamin.
I am. Like in high school, nobody asked me out. I was a plain Jane.
Really?
Then I went in the military and became GI Jane. They put me on a post, the only woman with 2,000 men, and I instantly became like Gina Lola Brigida.
Yeah.
And for you young people, take out Gina's name and put in any Kardashian. It's the same
God.
joke.
Car crashian, that's what I call them. Famous,
Yeah.
famous for being famous. So
Yes.
So after you leave the army, what happens next?
So I get out of the army in 1976, married and pregnant. At that time, you could get out if you were pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
My husband at the time was coming to America to be a recruiter in Vancouver, Washington. So if I didn't get out, I would have had the baby in Germany without him. So I got out and I had the baby in Vancouver, Washington, and I went back into banking. And then our marriage ended, and we wound up living in Fort Myers, Florida, and I was a banker. And then when the divorce really was final, I left Fort Myers and went to Seattle to be with my sister, and I was a banker. And the whole time, all I was doing is making people laugh everywhere I went.
Yeah.
Not friends, strangers.
Right.
Like most people go, oh, my friends think. Now, my friends didn't think I was that funny. I used my comedy shtick on strangers.
Yeah. That's often what you do, you know. Wow, so you were working in the bank system. Did you become disillusioned with it after a while?
With banking,
Yeah.
hell yeah. Oh my gosh. I worked my way up from teller, new accounts, safe deposit clerk, all the way up to corporate career developer and a trainer at Washington Mutual in Seattle in the corporate headquarters. And then we got a new training supervisor, and he came from the University of Michigan. So I looked it up, and he had a degree in organizational development. So I looked that up. Turns out he was a hatchet man. He was coming to cut people out. So I went in his office. I said, I've been doing my research. Did you come to be a hatchet man? And he goes, yes. And I said, so are you going to keep me? And he said, nope.
Oh, wow. Did you ever work for Wells Fargo?
I never did. Never did.
Yeah, we've had Wells Fargo for many, many years, and I remember in San Mateo, where I'm from, in downtown, we had like, oh my God, so many damn banks. It was so crazy.
Really?
Yeah, there was all these banks that downtown San Mateo back in like 85, 86, and stuff. It was really, really crazy. Yeah, the banking system is just, I think, has just gotten worse. But at least you can bank online now. That's good. At least there's been an evolution.
Yes. I know here in Vegas, everybody talks about the magician's pen and teller. Every time I go into a bank lobby, there's a pen and a teller.
Yeah.
Who needs to go see them? They're at the bank.
Yeah.
I don't like going to a bank because during my 24 years of banking, I've been robbed 4 times. So I don't like to be around money. And I'm Jewish. And I don't like to be...
Yeah, do you think they know that?
Yeah, they're coming after me. They're going to do me in one way or another.
So you had a car crash and you got a brain injury. Is that what happened?
I know. I got it for free, and I'm Jewish. It was free. It wasn't even discounted. It was free.
What happened? Like, how did it happen, though?
So I was just sitting at a light. I was in the first position to go through a 4-way intersection at the bottom of a freeway in Oregon. And a truck comes off the freeway above us, down the hill to me, and he had no brakes. So his brakes finally kicked in a little bit at the end, and his truck hit the tail end of my car, and I went spinning around through the intersection, around and around and around to the leftish, wow, and hit a telephone pole.
That sounds very similar to my best friend, the way he had a car accident, except he died, unfortunately. His car just spun out of control. It was like, it was like 3 a.m, in the rain, from what I've been told. And, oh my God, that is just awful. Were you in a coma?
No, and that made it even harder. Nobody believed anything was wrong with me. I went to 3 hospitals. Mm-hmm. First was like the 3 little pigs story. First one, I went in and told the truth. Second one, I fabricated a little. By the time I went to the third one, I had concocted a story about this car crash that finally made them stand up and take notice.
Yeah. we all the way home. Oh my God. I mean, aside from the brain injury, did you get any other injuries?
No, nothing else was wrong with me at all. Just, like they diagnosed me with mild dementia due to brain trauma.
Oh my God.
And so they said that it's never going to get better and it's never going to get worse unless you get Alzheimer's. So my daughter started taking care of me, and it was too much for her. So she started taking out her frustration on me many different ways, and now we don't speak. Her choice.
I'm so sorry, Linda. That is awful.
Thank you. 9 years and 4 months.
Oh my God.
It's a bitch. She's not a bitch. It's a bitch to go through this every damn day. It's a nightmare without your children. And we all have people in our family that either don't talk to us or we don't talk to them. And it's okay. I'm in good company, but it's still a bitch.
It is. Oh my God, I couldn't imagine. Yeah, I was in a coma in my car crash, and
Oh no.
yeah, people ask me all the time, "What's it like being in a coma?" Well, it's like being catatonic with your eyes closed. I mean, you know your surroundings, you know everything. You just can't bring yourself to be awake and do anything and move. It's a really weird, trippy experience. I will tell you something though. While I was in the coma, I saw this weird, grainy, flashy kind of light, and when I first started the podcast, um, there was a weird, grainy, flashy kind of light in some of the videos of the podcast, and I think it was a sign of what my future was going to be in hindsight.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think in our darkest moments, there's a light that's right there. It's not at the end of the tunnel to give us hope.
Absolutely. Did you have to go through cognitive therapy?
I did. And then, when my daughter and I went our separate ways, that very day, I had gone through enough therapy to know I better have something to hold on to if she's not in my life. So I called the comedy club Aces, that's no longer going, but in Murrieta, I called Rocky Osborne. He's still a comic.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, listen, I don't want to live without my daughter, but if you'll get me in today to learn comedy today, I'll have a reason to live. And he got me in that day.
Do you think you started comedy as a way of hoping that it would catch your daughter's attention and she would come back to you?
That became later, but now it's my hope that, AGT came calling for me this year, and Armed Forces Entertainment, and I want to get so good and so noticed, not to be famous, so my daughter, no matter where she's at, no matter what she turns on, the TV or whatever, she's going to see me.
Oh my God! I hope you accomplish that. Oh my God!
Thank you.
Do you have any grandchildren that you know of?
Not that I know of. I don't. Like the pandemic happened. The police told me a few months ago that they thought she was homeless. So I went there to find her, and I saw her on the street, but she wouldn't talk. She didn't look homeless, but going through a pandemic homeless, I hope she's still alive,
Yeah. Oh my God.
It's a bitch, Tommy. It's a bitch.
My mother and I have been homeless, not like that on the streets, but pretty much. So I totally get it because we saw those people, and it's just it's heartbreaking. It really is. Yeah, I mean, I didn't suffer any brain trauma, though my friends and family would disagree because I started a podcast.
Yes.
But I will say this, though, because of the alcohol I consumed for 4 years up to that point, and because I was in a coma, my mind was cleansed, and in that I forgot a lot of stuff for a while. It took me a year to get my brain back, and when it came back, it was like, nothing had ever happened. It's just, life plays funny tricks on you.
Yes.
So what year was this that you started stand-up?
I started comedy in 2014. From 1996 to 2013, my daughter was taking care of me, and it was too much for her.
Yep, that's the year we were homeless, because it happened at the end of 13, and 14 was just a shitty year. Like, I look back on that year, and I can't believe I'm still alive. A lot happened during that year. Oh, my God.
Wow.
So you start stand-up, and it's in Portland, right?
No, I started comedy in Southern California,
Okay.
where my daughter and I had been living. And then I stayed there a year because I gave my daughter a year to go get counseling for taking out, hitting me and threatening me all the time. And I needed counseling too. And so a year came and left. I hadn't heard nothing from my daughter. So I said, great, I'll go to Portland. So I went to Portland, Oregon, my hometown.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very LGBTQ. And I'm straight as an arrow, old, white, and part Jewish. And they weren't having it. So I came on a visit to Vegas for Stephen Pearl's birthday. And I was like, these fuckers are all heterosexual. This is where I'm staying.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Were you nervous the first time you went up?
Very first time. I my brain, I have two things wrong with my brain. No fear, and I can't organize. It's really, really hard for me to be organized. So I work really hard at being organized, and I'm almost repairing it myself. But I don't have no fear. People go, were you nervous up there? No, I wasn't. Do you want my brain injury? Do I have to give you a brain injury for you to get? No, I don't feel fear. How many times do I have to tell? Do you have a brain injury? I've told you this 18 times now.
Yeah. But did you do okay the first time?
Yeah, I did all right. But, I made some beginner mistakes. Like,
we all do that.
I told a couple jokes. They were such stupid jokes. And they were mostly like word play and puns and all that.
Yeah.
And then I had props up there. I was a real hit. And so then after telling a couple of jokes, there were two comics sitting way up front, and I heard them say, that joke is so old. And I was like, oh, you're not supposed to use anybody else's jokes?
Yeah. Well, at the beginning, yeah. I mean, the first night is usually, if you're going to pursue it, the first night is usually, they'll give you a pass, right? But then as you keep going up, you have to write your own shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I told you on your show, I was doing Bob Zaney jokes the first night, so.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
Yeah.
That's a good choice of jokes, though. You got good taste.
Yeah, well, I knew I was fat, and I had to make fat jokes, and so I was doing his fat jokes, after he had lost weight, and, that's what I was doing. Now,
yes.
Now, I find this interesting. So, like, you would, send jokes to people on Twitter?
All the time. I talked to Melissa Gilbert.
Oh, yeah.
From Little House on the Prairie. I talked to Kirstie Alley and David Brenner and Sinbad on MySpace and Twitter back when they all started.
Yeah, I know that Melissa Gilbert is funny. I've been told that she should do stand-up, right? But, what was the incentive to send her jokes?
Well, to feed my ego, to see if I was funny. I wasn't ready to do comedy back in those days. I just was getting ready to think about doing it, and I wanted to know if I was going to get anybody's attention for being funny. And David Brenner, he was helping me with jokes. Mm-hmm. And, I sent him a couple jokes, and he goes, there's no punchline in here. And I was, oh, you need a punchline? Okay. And then Sinbad, I was bantering with him all the time, and I thought, how cool is it that I get to banter with Sinbad?
Yeah, I never knew that David Brenner was on Twitter. I feel bad now that I never got to follow him. But yeah,
it was either Twitter or MySpace.
Okay, it was probably.
I was on both.
Yeah, I was on MySpace. Yeah, I've interviewed Melissa Gilbert's godparents, Charlie Brill and Mitzi McCall. They went on after the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh my God, one of my favorite interviews. They were doing their bickering husband and wife shtick while we were talking. It was so hilarious.
Wow.
So hilarious. And I thought they were dead. I didn't know they were still alive, right? But thank God, Charlie's on Facebook. The DM went into his spam. So then I contacted his daughter, who was on Facebook, Jenny Brill, and we made the connection and everything. It was just so fantastic. You should get them on your show. You'd be laughing the entire time.
I would love to.
Yeah. I watched a video you did 6 years ago at the comic strip, and you talked about exploring sex with yourself with paraphernalia.
Oh, jeez. How did you find that video? Can you send it to me?
I'll
I
send it.
don't even have.
I'll send it. Yeah. Another comedian posted it, and I know her too, but I can't remember who it was at the moment.
Wow. I remember I was being coached to say a phone sex thing
Yeah.
and the vibrator. That was probably that set.
Yeah, I think it was that. Yeah.
Stupid. It was so stupid.
Up in Oregon, did you know Squeaks Morales?
No.
Yeah, she was a Bay Area comic. She must have moved to Oregon like about 8 or 9 years ago. Unfortunately, her and I had a falling out. Oh my God, it was weird. We like spent the entire day in her swimming pool, and she was just hurling insults at me. And I was drinking a lot during that time. It was just like one of the weirdest experiences of my life. But we didn't have the falling out that day. It was like not long after that, but.
Wow.
It was crazy. I don't even know if she still does comedy or goes by Squeaks anymore, so who knows?
Yeah, I was going to say, what's her real name?
I don't even know what her real name was. She just liked being called Squeaks.
I'll be darned. I wonder why she called herself Squeaks. That's funny.
Because she has a very tiny voice. That's why. She's got little voices, and she's Filipino. Which is funny.
Got it.
I know you never see a Filipino with a voice like that. It's always some white girl, maybe sometimes a Jewish girl, sometimes blonde. They usually have those little voices, So what year did you move to Vegas, and what brought you there?
So I moved to Vegas in 2019 because I came here for a visit on Stephen Pearl's birthday, and everybody here in comedy in the green room at Laugh Factory was straight as an arrow, and the guys were hot and around my age, and I'm like, what? Why am I wasting my life in Portland, Oregon? No, because I'm not LGBTQ, and I'm not going to pretend I am to get booked. I don't eliminate them when I put on the show, but they were sure eliminating the straight white old lady.
Yeah. Do you know Jenny Pez Dispenser?
Well, that's a familiar name, but I can't recall. I mean, I just looked up the Morales girl, and she now goes by Ashton Morales.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I don't know. She blocked me, so I can't go look. But yeah. Jenny's a friend of mine. When I came back from my accident, and I was on the Bay Area comedy page and always looking for open mics, there was an argument going on the page, and I was in the middle of it, and then like Jenny was like putting her 2 cents in, and we became fast friends. Because of that, we would always like DM each other late at night and just make each other laugh. And she came to the Bay Area to do a showcase that Johnny Corn was hosting, and I was on her radio show long before I had a podcast, and then she was the first non-celebrity to come on this podcast 5 years ago, and she's been taking a break because she was in a toxic relationship. But she's awesome. She's really awesome.
Got it.
Who have you opened for again?
I've opened for, let me go to my memory bank. So many on Zoom. I've, one time I got to open for, the guy, Sammy Obeid.
Yeah, I know Sammy.
I got opened for him when he was doing his hour special, but it was on Zoom. And I've been on shows with Tom Cotter's wife, Wendy Liebman, Kathy Ladden. I've had them on my shows. I've been on shows that they've been on. But live, I've opened for Jimmy Earl,
Uh-huh.
who I don't speak to anymore, and I opened for Jimmy Shin, and I'm going to be opening for Stephen Pearl this Wednesday, and I opened for Jimmy Shin, Jimmy Earl, Stephen Pearl, and I'm going to be opening for Greg Wilson 3 times in the Northwest, August 3rd through the 6th, through the 7th.
Fantastic. Only Sammy would do an hour special on Zoom.
I know. He's got so much material.
Yeah. Oh my God. I remember one night at Rooster Teeth Feathers, like 7 years ago. I go see him. My friend Rachel McDowell was opening for him, and she lives in L.A. and she was just down to open for him. He was living in L.A. too. They both came down to do a show, and I just could not believe, like, he would take water breaks, right? And he didn't have any notes on him, but he would like make it look like he did, just to kind of fuck with the audience of like he's running out of material. But then he just kept firing more and more at the audience. Yeah,
I love that.
he's a real craftsman. Yeah. Oh my God. So, like, you told me when I was on your show that you've lived with Steve twice. Is that what you said?
Yes, when I first got to Vegas, he told me before I came, he said, you can stay with me till you find a permanent place.
Mm-hmm.
So I stayed at his place, and I was madly looking for where to live so not to be a problem to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to live with the Veterans Housing right here on Vegas Boulevard,
Mm-hmm.
and I put up with that for 11 months with cockroaches crawling up my arm while I'm doing interviews. It was cockroach infested.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had just had enough of that cockroach stuff. So when I moved into the veteran housing, I swear cockroaches helped me unpack my bags. It was that bad.
Oh my God. They probably.
I moved a lamp, and there was a cockroach. I mean, how much better can it get?
They're probably the size of footballs. Yeah.
They were the big ones. And so I was complaining one day to him, and he goes, well, just come back here, And so I went back there, and then I didn't want to be under his feet bothering him that long. So I went to live at Extended Stay, which was great. And I stayed there for quite 5 or 6 months and got sick of it and went and found an apartment. And now I live in a old apartment building called the Diplomat, which is where Debbie Reynolds, Dean Martin, some of the Rat Pack, some of the old time Vegas greats lived in these buildings here.
Yeah.
And Elvis used to come over and bang all the showgirls because they would sit out in the sun without any clothes on.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there's some stories going on around here.
Yeah, oh my God. I don't think you could be under Steve's feet, though. I mean, that guy used to step on heroin needles back in the day. I'm sure he's told you all the stories, about being up at the Crest Hill house and doing blow with Sam Kinison and all of them.
Oh, yeah. He's quite a talker,
Yeah.
You cannot be around Stephen Pearl without stepping up your comedy game, because if he gets up in the middle of the night to grab something to drink or go to the bathroom,
Yeah.
he is spewing out comedy rhetoric in his sleep out loud. He talks out loud. He thinks out loud. He sleeps and talks and walks, and you're learning comedy whether you want to or not.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, God, that guy is just, oh my God, a reservoir of comedy. Sam Kinison, brilliant. 2 short screams followed by a long scream.
It's like Morse code.
Yeah, Sam invented the printing press and gravity. He should have invented seatbelts. Those are actual quotes that I've heard him say to me.
He never stops. I used to banter with Stephen Pearl for hours on Facebook Messenger. Mm-hmm. He'd say something, I'd say something, he'd say something, and you can never get ahead of him. Don't matter how hard you try. He just does it without even thinking.
Yeah. Has he ever introduced you to Edgar Winter?
Oh, I got so close to meeting Edgar Winter, but no.
Yeah, because Johnny died about 9 years ago, something like that. But he was very close with Johnny, and he opened for him and stuff. A very interesting relationship there. The albino and the big guy.
Yes, and Ringo came here and had the surviving twin here, and Stephen got a hold of him, and he was supposed to bring him backstage or come out around the curtain and meet him, and almost did, but it didn't happen for Stephen. Almost had their little reunion.
Oh, that's sad. Well, it's never too late. Hopefully it'll happen eventually.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the Comic Spot. I really enjoyed being a guest on there a few weeks ago, and how I discovered your show. I was on YouTube looking for interviews that an enemy of mine has done, because I'm always looking to see if he's badmouthed me during interviews, and he hasn't yet, but I'm always looking. And he was on your show. He didn't badmouth me, but I liked your smile, and I liked your positive energy, so I subscribed right away, and here we are. Yeah.
Thank you, Tommy.
Absolutely. So was this like a quarantine project for you?
No. So my mother always said, you ask so goddamn many questions. Like as a little kid, I was always asking questions. And that's just the way I am. And so then I started into this comedy journey, and I always asked comedy people questions everywhere I went. And I was at Harvey's Comedy Club in Portland, Oregon, doing whatever they need. If there's a need, Linda fills it. That's what I was at Harvey's. Like, oh, you don't have a microphone? I'll go find one. I was just always, they let me come to every show for free. And so and then one day they said, everybody thinks you own the club. Why don't you interview the headliners coming through? So they're the ones that believed in me that I could do this. I didn't have the skills. I didn't have the confidence to really do it. But somebody came along with the equipment, and there I was interviewing. My first person I interviewed wasn't even a comedian. It was an actor, Michael Ian Black, or I don't know, somebody Ian Black. Some guy from Comic Con.
Michael Ian Black. Yeah, I have an idea who that is.
Yeah, and then then they had me interview a couple other comedians that night, and I was like, wow, my head is spinning. I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm making all kind of mistakes. Nobody cared. They just wanted somebody, and all the guys in town that are comics were like so jealous that I got to do it. And when I was asking to be on people's interview shows, they were, having each other on their shows, and nobody wanted to have me on their podcast. All of a sudden, when I'm interviewing headliners, now all of a sudden I become newsworthy. And then I moved here to Vegas. I did that for like a year and a half there.
Yeah.
And then I came here, and I got a hold of Sinbad, and I said, hey, do you remember me from MySpace? And he goes, yes, I do. And I go, great, I want to interview you. And once that hit the airwaves, everybody gave a shit.
Yeah. How many interviews are you at now?
I'm not positive, but I think it's 1,050 or 51.
Holy shit, you're catching up to me.
I know. And you keep going, so that's like somebody trying to keep up with my age. It's never going to happen.
Yeah, today I'm at 1,847. My God.
Wow. 1847. That was a good year. I remember it.
That's brilliant. I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Who have been your favorite interviews so far?
Well, beyond a shadow of a doubt, the two big names that were the most interesting to me were Sinbad and Tommy Chong.
Yeah.
Now, they're very different. Sinbad was on, and he was depressed about the George Floyd killing that had just happened. So we talked about racism. So it was a serious talk. But I was proud of that interview because he only gave me 2 minutes, and I told him a joke right up top, so he stayed 41 minutes.
Oh, that's awesome. I gotta go and listen to that one because I haven't listened to it yet, or watched it. And you had, just like me, you had Bobby Rydell on.
Oh my gosh. He sang to me. Did you watch it?
Not yet. I'm gonna watch that one too.
He's been on a few times. He came on my military comedy shows that I do, but when I interviewed him, I was telling him how the song "Forget Him," forget him if he doesn't love you. That song. I told him how that helped me get through a really hard scenario with a guy. So what does Tommy do? He starts singing the song to me.
Wow. I DM'd his fan page on Facebook, and he told me to email his wife, and so she set it up and everything. I thought that was just so awesome, and so it was so surreal. I mean, he's
I know.
I mean, I've interviewed, Dean Torrance and Jen and Dean, and lots of guys from like '60s rock, right? But like that era of like teeny bopper and stuff. Bobby Rydell's the only one, and most likely the only one I'll ever talk to, and I can't believe he's gone. It's so sad.
So sad. And did you know Linda Hoffman, his widow? She will come on your show and promote like the foundation she's doing.
Oh, thanks for letting me know. I'm gonna consider that. Yeah, that's great. Is she coming on your show?
She did come on once.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Yeah, and Tommy Chong. Oh my God, I was just nervous the whole time. Thank God he likes to talk because I don't think I could have said any more than 5 minutes of talk during that whole interview because it was him talking the whole time.
I've had him on for a total of 5.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time he came on, I sent it to my twin brother to see, because my twin brother, has been a big pot smoker, etc. I thought he'd enjoy it. My twin brother said, "Linda, you need to talk once in a while."
Yeah.
So I said, "Well, let's see you do it. Do you want to co-interview the next time?" No, just.
Yep, I've watched 2 of those of the Tommy Chongs. Yeah, Rain Pryor, Richard Pryor's daughter. I would love to have her. I'm gonna reach out to her.
She's really cool. She doesn't. She's not living in the limelight, so to speak. She lives in some remote area. I'm gonna, I want to say Indiana or the East Coast, but she's super cool, and she told me the reason she gave me the interview is because I was so nice.
Oh, well, you are nice. And
thank you. I get so sick and tired of being told I'm nice. Usually, I just want to be a bitch when I hear that. I want to go, stop it.
Yeah.
Like usually it's like I would put you on my show, but you're too nice. You're so nice. Fuck off.
Yeah, another guest of mine you had, Jessica Wellington. Was she late?
I don't know. I don't remember. I just remember I met her at the Portland Comedy Festival in 2019.
Yeah. And
loved her. And so, she and Felicia Michaels had me on their Comedy Central podcast game show, Liars Club. I had them laughing. And so I thought, okay, well, what I'll do is I'll have each of you on my show. So
I think my interview with her is the reason Felicia hasn't come on. She promised me for years to come on, and yeah, during our interview she was late, and she had just woken up. It was like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and she was doing laundry. I'm like, what the fuck? You knew that we had to do this and stuff, and her energy was just weird that day. And she told me a great story about working with Clint Eastwood in Gran Torino, but it was really weird, right? And then I wanted to talk dirty like comedians do, so I asked her whether or not she thinks the G-spot is real, and she was like, "Gee, Tommy, that's a loaded question." And then she went on for a few minutes about that, and then she had to go all of a sudden.
Wow. I have a whole lot on the G-spot.
Oh yeah? What's your theory?
Yeah. What?
What's your theory about the G-spot?
Well, coming from personal experience, I went in the military in '73, and I met a GI. We got married, and he was just a clerk typist.
Yeah.
So sex was like hunt and peck.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
I just thought of that yesterday, and then like I should have married somebody that was into reconnaissance and blowing shit up.
Yeah.
But I tell people, like, now I do comedy for the military and veterans, and I get tingly all over my body when I'm making them laugh. All over my body, so I know I want to always get out and find more GI spots.
Yeah.
Doesn't everybody?
I know, you say it so matter-of-factly, I have to, take it in for a moment there.
I know. People tell me my jokes hurt their brain.
Yeah. Oh, I've been told that myself.
Yeah.
Another guest you had that's iconic that I would love to get is Marsha Warfield.
Oh, she's a doll. Hey, if you'll let me say your name when I'm asking your people, I'll let you say my name when you're asking my people. Your people are a lot more valuable, no offense to mine.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I believe in, helping other podcast hosts out and stuff, I hate this competitive shit, there's a lot of guys out there, it's not necessarily comedians. I'm talking just, people in general who love cult film and cult television or what have you, that just are so arrogant and greedy. They don't want to help anybody. It's so sad that they don't want to do that,
So sad.
So who's on your bucket list?
Who do I want to interview?
Yeah.
Well, I've been trying to get Judy Gold.
Yeah.
I know she's old school. And anybody before they die. There's people up there, like people in their 80s and 90s. Like Shecky Green lives here in Vegas. I think he's still alive.
Yeah.
But his family says he doesn't do interviews. Like if I know he's living in a nursing home around here somewhere. If I'm about ready to go search every nurse. But yeah, the old people before they die that are legends, and we got a lot of legends in Vegas.
The last interview Shecky did was for the Johnny Carson podcast, which was hosted by this comedian Mark Malkoff, who I've had on the show and stuff. And he was able to get Shecky Green, Mort Saul, who never did interviews, and I tried to get him on mine, and I know Mark Maron tried to get him on his, and for some reason Mort said yes to the Johnny Carson podcast, and then he got so many great people before they passed, Carl Reiner and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
The guy that does the Jiminy Glick?
Martin Short?
I would love to interview him and Billy Crystal. Why do I go after the arrogant ones?
Yeah.
I've heard they're both arrogant, but who they are when they turn it on is incredible.
Yeah. Oh, it's funny. I've interviewed a couple of people who knew Martin Short and John Candy of Second City, right? And I'm sure they get asked all the time to be connected with guys like Martin Short and Eugene Levy, and they were nice, but you could see there was a little bit of defensive airs in the way that they talked, because I'm sure that they get asked all the time, and I would never ask that. I'm not really interested in interviewing someone at that high level. I mean, I wouldn't mind meeting them in person by accident or something, but no, I would never want to interview someone to get to somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Have you ever accidentally on purpose run into a celebrity where you orchestrated it and made it lied your way through a paper bag that it was an accident?
Never done that, but I gotta tell you, I accidentally met Dana Gould a couple years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, my mom and I, we were at Sketchfest in San Francisco, and we went to go see a screening of our one of our favorite movies when I was growing up, Just One of the Guys. Very funny teen movie. and we're looking for the Q&A table, and Dana Gould had a table, and his sign wasn't up yet, and I'm looking at him going, I know that guy from some reason, I can't think why, and my mom goes over and she says to him, is this just one of the guys' table? And he's like, it is not. And she's like, do you know where that is? And he's like, I do not. And she's like, well, thank you. And so we go over to security, and the security person tells us where the table is. And I said to her, hey, who's that guy? And she's like, that's Dana Gould. And I'm like, that is Dana Gould. What the fuck?
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
When I was working at one of my jobs after college at the airport, a guy came into the gift shop where I worked, and I thought, he's either my former school teacher or a celebrity. So I said, there's something about his voice. Let me make him talk. So he put down 2 packages of candy on the counter, and he put it down very authoritatively, like, this is all I want, don't bother me. And I thought, no, I have to get you to talk. And I'm thinking. So I said, will that be all? And he said, yes. And I go, oh, you're Vincent Price.
Oh, he was Vincent Price? I've interviewed his daughter a couple times.
No way.
Yes, she's very nice. She's a short-haired lesbian who looks exactly like him, and she's a very nice lady. She has nothing but positive things to say about everyone and everything in life. I mean, really, really awesome lady.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So
wow.
Has anyone ever asked you for money that you've interviewed?
Yes, I get asked for money. I mean, do you mean have they asked for money to be interviewed or
yes,
after?
To be interviewed, yeah.
Yes.
I've had nobody that I've actually interviewed has, except for this one guy who was a freaking clown. But I tried to get the girl who played Pippi Longstocking in the 80s. I get to her on Twitter 5 years ago, and we set a date, and then she had to reschedule on the day of, and I didn't hear from her for like, a month, and we had everything planned. We were going to talk for an hour, everything, and then a month later, I finally hear from her, and she's like, I'll give you 20 minutes for $400. And I was like, you are out of your fucking mind. And so she blocked me on Twitter, and then I called her out on her Facebook fan page, and then she blocked me on there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, who's the girl that was in Beaches? The blonde comedian singer? Bette Midler.
Bette Midler. Oh.
Yeah, I invited her, and she goes, well, you'd have to make it worth my while. And I said, well, I'm living off of a VA, disability, and Social Security, and whatever comedy brings, I could do 100. And she goes, it's going to have to be a lot more than that. And I thought, screw it.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Well, I've interviewed her joke writer, Bruce Valanche.
That's her joke writer. Wow.
He's a great guy, yeah, and he'd do it for free. He loves doing podcast interviews. He loves talking about himself.
I love him. I met him at the Portland Comedy Fest.
Yeah. Oh, he's great. Yeah.
He told me I was really special on stage.
Yeah, he's got. I think he's got a memoir coming out or something like that, or maybe it already did. I don't know. But yeah, he's a great guy. I mean, I can recommend Susan Sager. She was the dominatrix in Eating Raoul. She's a very funny stand-up. She started later in life, and she's hilarious. And
I've interviewed her. I love her.
Oh, you did have Susan on already?
I did. You know who I got to interview is Barry Manilow's comedy writer.
I didn't even know he had a comedy writer.
Yeah, most people don't. Larry Amorose.
Oh, okay, Larry Amorose. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, my friend Meredith Godfrey. She runs an open mic at a bar in the Bay Area, and she's been a bartender for years, and she's a very funny comedian. I recommend her. My friend Anastasia Washington, who's my age, she's been on my podcast like 6 or 7 times now, and we always just have the best time talking. She's a comic up in LA. I recommend her. One of her good friends, who's also been on the show, is Alan Hale Jr.'s granddaughter, Samantha Hale.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I recommend her too. They're really cool. Yeah, I mean you're great at self promoting and you're making the later years count. I think what you're doing is fabulous. You're a true inspiration, Linda.
Thank you so much. So, all these names that you've been dropping for me to interview.
Mm-hmm.
So, am I going to get a copy of this interview so I can go back and listen to all these names?
Of course, of course.
And I want to share this interview.
Of course.
I want to tell you about the most magical interview I ever had.
Okay.
Can I tell you?
Of course.
So my parents went through the Holocaust, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm talking with Gabe Abelson, who used to be a writer for Letterman,
Mm-hmm.
head writer for Letterman. And we're just talking away. And I tell him about, oh yeah, my parents came over here after Hitler. Oh yeah, and I go, yeah, they came on a Marine ship. And he goes, my dad was the captain of a Marine ship. And I go, oh, well, my parents came over on the Marine Perch. And you could see in the video that the rolling chair that he was sitting on rolled clear back to the other side of the room. If you watch the video, you'll see him shocked out of his pants.
Yeah.
And that his dad was the captain on the very boat that brought my parents from Germany after the Holocaust.
Oh my God. Have you ever thought about writing a memoir yourself?
I'm writing one.
Oh, good. Yeah, I need to get back to writing my own. I've been lagging on that, and I just turned 40, so I think it's time.
Yeah, you're so old, Tommy. Are you riddled with arthritis yet?
I'm getting there from the injuries from my accident.
Oh my gosh, you can probably tell the weather report.
Yeah. Real quick, we gotta play my secret silly game. But this is a series of silly slumber party questions, no win or lose. It's just pure fun. And how the game works is, I ask you the question, you answer it, and then and then you ask me that exact same question, and I answer it. And feel free to comment on answers because they might be funny.
Okay, perfect.
Linda, are you ticklish?
Am I ticklish? Only in certain spots.
Yes.
What's the rules of the game now?
Then you ask me that exact same question.
Oh, Tommy, are you ticklish?
Oh, yes. If you tickle me without warning, I might hit you in the groin.
Wow. You promise?
Well, if you tickle me with warning, I'm going to be laughing out of sexual gratification and pleasure. Is your belly button an innie or an outie?
I once drove an Audi, but my real belly button's an innie.
I love that answer. I've never had that ever. That's so awesome.
Thank you. I did, yeah. I ran it into the ground. And then is your belly button an innie or an outie?
It's a very deep innie. In fact, a female comic once told me I could fit crystal meth in there.
Ooh, that's fabulous.
What color are your toenails painted?
My toenails are never painted.
Okay.
So what color are your toenails painted?
Light lavender purple.
Ooh, I like that.
Yes. I like to go bright colors. What would you say is your best personality trait?
That I flip the script on people, not because I'm bipolar.
Yeah.
But like they think that I'm so sweet and nice, and I've learned to like turn the tables on them. Like for God's sake, quit telling me I'm so goddamn nice. Sick of it. How many years do I have to hear this shit?
Yeah.
So nice.
So my best personality trait.
Yeah. Wait a minute. What's your best personality trait?
I have empathy and I have no filter.
Ooh.
I'm a Gemini.
Okay. Wow.
If you could have anything named after you, what would it be?
Your belly button.
Yes, the Linda Marcus Smith. You want to see it?
If you could have anything named after you, what would it be?
A vibrator. I would call it the Tommy Chatsy.
And it's an innie.
And then my favorite question, is there a stinky smell that just makes you gag?
Eggs. I'm allergic to sulfur, and eggs have sulfur, and I can't stand. I love eating eggs, but I can't stand the smell.
Same here.
Yeah, it smells like it's been your socks and gas, and it's been cooped up for a year. What's the smell that makes you gag?
Yeah, farts and feet. Those are the two worst for mine.
Yeah. Farts and feet. I love it. The F and F. F troop.
What's your favorite joke of all time? I'm curious to know.
Let's see. My favorite joke of all time. Man, I've never been asked that question.
It could be an aristocrat's joke. It could be anything.
Gosh. There's just so many wonderful jokes out there. The best one. Anything Rita Rudner.
Yeah.
She's the inspiration, her and Wendy Liebman for me. But Rita Rudner, when she talks about wanting to go to a plastic surgeon and she goes to the office and she sees a Picasso on the wall.
Oh, yeah. I like that. I like that joke she had about how, there's the warning label on alcohol bottles that, about, anyone, pregnant shouldn't drink alcohol. And she's like, I think that's ironic because if it wasn't for alcohol, women wouldn't be pregnant.
I love that one too. I met Rita and I told her a line and she said, I want that line. I said, you can have it. Please take it.
Yeah, I tried getting her on here a few years ago. Her husband was going to set it up, but then I never heard from him. Maybe I'll try again at a certain point.
That's nice. I'd love to have her on.
My favorite joke of all time. How do you make your wife scream twice?
I give up.
You fuck her in the ass and wipe your dick on the curtain. I got that from Meredith Godfrey, who I told you about.
Wow.
So tell us again your upcoming shows, and do you have any upcoming podcast guests you'd like to brag about?
Well, my upcoming shows, August 3rd through the 8th. Mm-hmm. Well, through the 7th, I'll be up in the Northwest. I'll be in Portland, Oregon, Aurora, Oregon, which is just south of Portland, and I'll be in Seattle. Mm-hmm. And that's with headliner Greg Wilson. And so you get the details off my Facebook or his. And then this Wednesday, I'll be at the infamous Saddle and Spurs Saloon in Vegas with headliner Stephen Pearl, which is a big deal for me. It's really not helping his career at all to be on with me. But I'm fine with that because I'm not nice. Stop calling me nice.
Okay, I hate to be the 1,000,000th person to say this. You are nice, Linda, and you are a national treasure and an inspiration. Aww. And I thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Just tell one person she's nice, but don't ever fuck with her. She can be a bitch if she has to. I want that rumor to get out there. Yeah. I want some people afraid of me. People step on me because they think I'm so nice.
Well, you just got to be assertive, and aggressive, take some, maybe take some kung fu classes.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Put out some videos of me kicking ass.
Linda, you have yourself a great day and be safe out there.
Tommy, thanks for making my day.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure.
Bye. Love you lots.
Bye-bye. Love you lots. Well, there you have it. Linda Marcus Smith. Oh my God, isn't she a sweetheart? I'm so glad that we had that conversation today. She is just a wonderful lady. Wonderful. Go see her. She is friggin' hilarious. Well, until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past because the present sucks. Later, dudes.